You read the title. I am a professional video game designer who's worked on 0 games so far, so I know what I'm talking about. So here is one change I would make to every Terraria boss. Starting off with King Slime, I think this boss could use a projectile. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but it's simply too easy to beat this boss by standing more than an inch away. For Eye of Cthulhu, I think I would make his dashes a little bit less predictable. The way he moves is incredibly easy to get used to, and for the most part you can just run from left to right for the entire fight and boom, you win. For the Brain of Cthulhu, I would simply make him faster during his first stage. Of course, he does get faster in his second stage, but the first stage just feels like a giant waste of time because it's so laughably easy. The Eater of Worlds, on the other hand, starts out difficult and then ends up being a piece of cake by the end. I would make it so that the Eater of Worlds launches more Vile Spit in Expert mode when it's lower on health, so that it can stay challenging from the start to the finish. For Queen Bee, I would make her dashes slightly faster since they already don't do a lot of damage. For Skeletron, I would make his Expert mode skulls slightly more dynamic or interesting. As of right now, there is a very clear pattern where you can kinda just dodge basically all of his skulls if you just circle around the boss. For Deerclops, I would make his attacks a little bit more choreographed. This is basically the only boss in Terraria where you can't tell what move he's going to do next even after fighting the boss dozens of times because he doesn't have a set pattern. Maybe that works well in Don't Starve Together, but it's not great in Terraria. For the Wall of Flesh, I wouldn't really change anything. It's perfect as it is. For Queen Slime, I would make her movement slightly slower during her second phase. It's cool that she can fly around and all, but her absurd projectiles in her second stage are already hard enough to dodge. Moving on to the Destroyer, this boss fight is incredibly easy, but also very time consuming, which is why it's the least popular mech boss. So what I would do is make his movement a lot faster while also lowering his health, which gives the player a real threat of getting hit by the boss itself. This would give the player a more intense challenge, but less of a grind. For the twins, I would make it so that Spasmatism's first phase is focused on chasing down the player at all times instead of shooting projectiles. It's always been very weird to me that Spasmatism's first phase is so similar to Retinazer. And for the last mech boss, Skeletron Prime, I would make his bombs fire faster in Expert and Master mode. For Plantera, there's nothing I would change with the boss itself, but it would be really nice if they added a craftable item to summon it instead of needing to find a bulb, even if the summon is only unlockable after Plantera is defeated. For Golem, I don't know man, double his health or something, give him his 12th buff in the next patch, he needs it. For Duke Fishron, I would honestly add his third phase into Classic mode. It's not too challenging and it makes the boss fight a lot cooler. The Empress of Light is pretty tough to judge on this, since it's arguably the best boss fight in the entire game. I guess I would get rid of this attack where a giant shield is formed around the Empress herself, just because I hate this attack. This is a total nightmare when you're using the Summoner class and you need to get up with the whip, it sucks. For the Lunatic Cultists, I would definitely give this boss more health or defense. It is absurd how easy this boss fight is, considering how late into the game you fight it. And last but not least, for Moonlord, I would just get rid of the Phantasmal Eyes. This boss fight is already very unpredictable, it does not need a homing attack that does a bunch of damage. This may or may not be a skill issue, but hey, listen, in my defense,